Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Namibia's Desert Dunes and Wildlife Wonders, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Abner Simeon. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Abner, take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Rob, for the introduction there. Hi, everyone. My name is Abner Simeon, as many know me as AB, the one and only. Thank you very much for joining our webinar tonight or today. Sorry, this time it's actually night here in Namibia. Um, yeah, so I just quickly want to brief everyone about everything you need to know about Namibia. But before we get to that, um, I would like to introduce myself and where I'm from. Okay, so I'm once again, I'm Abner Simeon, born in Namibia, somewhere in the northern part of Namibia. Um, by yeah, sorry. So that's where I was actually born, but raised in the central parts of Namibia. Both my parents used to work in the tourism industry. My father being a chef, my mother being a housekeeper. So I actually grew up on the farm where both my parents used to work, um, which is in the central part of Namibia. But then I also attended a private school at the farm where they used to work. So a few years later, I didn't actually finish high school, but then I ended up going to a farm where I used to work when I failed school. But then working on the farm, I ended up falling in love with nature, whereby my big brother is a ranger and is still a ranger at that farm. So I used to join him out on the activities, on the drives and so on. That's where I ended up falling in love with nature. And then I worked in a few different places um, throughout Namibia. And at the end, I ended up working at one of the big private game reserves in the central part of Namibia. Um, yeah, so I worked as a general worker, but then I always used to get excited seeing all these guides going out on safaris. So I told myself that one day I will become a guide. And so I approached one of the guide managers on the reserve. And then I told her that I wanted to become a guide. So I wrote a test, which I passed. And then we've got a company called Amarula, which makes an alcohol called the Amarula. For those that have been on a lot of African safaris, you might have had it with your coffee and in the bush, having a coffee break and so on. So those guys ended up sponsoring my course, which I ended up passing, yeah. And then in 2014, I became a guide. Then I joined the wilderness company. Um, and then I've worked also in Damaraland areas for a few years. I've done Seraka Fema, I've done all the South camps, which are all wilderness camps. And in 2019, I ended up joining Natural Habitat. And till today, I'm still working for NatHab, which I am so happy to be working for. Um, yeah, yeah. So apart from that, I actually love photography, wildlife photography, and also a bit of music. That is my hobby. But apart from that, it's just reading and so on. All right. Um, so okay, we quickly gonna talk about Namibia, um, just to prepare you guys where you guys are gonna be going. All right. Namibia is actually a very big, beautiful, dry country. As you can see here, we've got some beautiful trees and dunes in the background. Yeah. So that's the main attraction that you will be seeing, or the image that a lot of people get about Namibia. Namibia is a very, very big country, which is about 825,400 square kilometers, which is quite very big. Just to give you a geographic location where Namibia is located, as you can see there, we've got a map of Africa, and Namibia is the one that is highlighted in white. So Namibia is actually surrounded by a few countries, whereby on the northern side, where I'm going to point out with the arrow, that's Angola, and then we've got Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa south, and then we've got the Atlantic Ocean just on the west side. All right. So here we've got also a proper map of Namibia, just to showcase where Windhoek is and where the camps that we normally operate in Namibia are located. So if you look where you've got the orange circle, that is Windhoek, which is the capital city of Namibia. So yeah, the capital city of Namibia, and where you see the dots, those are the wilderness camps that we've got in Namibia. And above here is where we've got Etosha, where we have Ongava Reserve. All right. So Namibia, as I mentioned, is quite a very, very big country. We've got about 11 ethnic groups, or which we call tribes. And I'm from one of the biggest tribe called the Ovambo tribe, which is north of north of Namibia, just at the border of Namibia and Angola. But knowing about the tribes, we will let you know. If you want to know more about the tribes, we will let you know once you guys arrive in Namibia. Okay, so let's get into the arrival information. So, as I mentioned again, I'm just gonna brief you on. I'm just gonna brief you about Namibia and to prepare you for your arrival, so you know what to expect when you arrive and what to pack and bring along. Okay. So when you guys arrive in Namibia, you guys will be landing in Hosea Kutako International Airport, which is just outside Windhoek. Yeah, which is outside Windhoek. So when you guys land, you will be welcomed by a NATAB representative at the airport. And then once you are welcome at the entrance, once you come out of immigration, you will be taken to a wilderness lounge just at the airport, where they will brief you, where they will be briefing you and also weighing your luggage. So we will get soon towards the end how much luggage and why we are weighing all our luggages. All right. So once you are done at the international airport, you guys will be transferred from the airport to Olive Grove, which is in the capital city. So the drive from there, from the airport to Windhoek, is plus minus 45 minutes, where you will be checked into the beautiful Olive Grove. Yeah, so that's where you will be checked in. And then at Olive Grove is where you will be meeting your NATAB expedition leaders, where we will go through the itinerary, introduce ourselves, go through the itinerary. And you can always ask questions while you are there, just to prepare yourself before the big day going to the wilderness camps. Into the wilderness camps and Ongava Reserve. After the briefing, you will have dinner. Yeah, and then you will be having dinner. Okay. So before we go now to the accommodations and so on, just to give you again proper information about transportation throughout the trip. When you leave Windhoek to go to the camps, we will be using lighter aircraft. So depending on the number of guests that we have, we might be using Cessna 210s, which is a smaller caravan, smaller aeroplanes, or we might be using Caravan 208. So those are the bigger ones which accommodate like up to 16 people. All right. So from camp to camp throughout Namibia, we will be using aeroplanes to move from one place to another. But within the camps, we will be using vehicles. So depending in the camps we go in, some camps we have closed vehicles. In some camps we've got open vehicles. So reason for having these two type of vehicles is because in some areas we do get fog rolling in. We've got this long distance. We've got sometimes wind, like windy, or let me say sandstorms. So that's a reason why we end up using closed vehicles in some camps, and in areas where we don't have much wind and these different weathers, we end up using open vehicles. Okay, so going now to accommodation. Um, we will be going to a few different camps throughout Namibia. So that depends on the type of trip that we are doing, um, but we will be going to these most beautiful camps that we've got through Namibia. So when these camps were built or put out, these guys were very, very good at selecting the places and also blending in the camps with the surrounding environment or the surrounding areas. So we're gonna really go to these beautiful, beautiful camps. All right, starting off here, this will be the south. This will be the first camp that we will visit when we start from Windhoek. This will be the first camp that we will visit, which is southwest of Namibia, which borders the border of Namib Nuclear Park, or which is the Namib Desert. That's where we will see these beautiful, beautiful sand dunes and these camel thorn trees or the dead trees. You've seen those beautiful dead trees and the dunes in the background. So if you look at the design of this beautiful camp, which is Lelo Kulala, if you look at the structure, it looks like a dune in the background, and then you've got this beautiful dead tree and so on. So once you visit the dead flake, you will understand why these camps have been built like that and why they look so beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so that is the first camp we will be visiting. Normally, we are there 2 nights or 3 nights, depending on the type of trip we are doing. Yeah, so that's Little Kulala. Going to the second camp, which is north west of Namibia in area called Damara Land. There we've got this most beautiful camp called Desert Rhino Camp, which also blends in with these beautiful basalt rocks that you see there. So when they build this camp, they use the natural resources, which is the basalt rocks in the area, and they build this beautiful camp so it can blend in with the surroundings. So this area is where we find the desert adapted black rhinos, the free roaming black rhinos. Okay. But apart from that, there's still quite other beautiful sceneries, the landscape, the wildlife that is there. Sometimes lions, elephants. That's what we're gonna see in Desert Rhino Camp. So you see how beautiful that camp looks like, and you're just gonna love it. Once you get to Namibia, you will be able to tell us why we chose these beautiful camps, and you would understand the whole reason behind it. Okay. And then going to the next one, this is now in Etosha. So this is Ongava. So you can see this beautiful tent camp, the tented camp, which also blends in with the environment again. So we've got these mopani trees, the beauty, so it just blends in with that. Yeah, but once you in that area, once you're in the camp, there is quite a lot of activities that we normally do there, which is now mostly the wildlife that we find in those areas now, which is elephants, lions. We would call it our mini Botswana. So all our trips, we start from Windhoek, and then we go to Lelekulala Desert Rhino Camp, and then we go and finish off with the wildlife in Etosha, or which is Ongava National Ongava Reserve. Okay, so these are all very luxury camps that we're going to visit. They are very, very beautiful camps, and nicely designed, very beautiful. Um, and then when we do also the Wild Namibia Photo Expedition, we always go to the Skeleton Coast Camp, which is northwest of Namibia, which also borders the the Skeleton Coast National Park. So as I mentioned again, if you look at all these camps, the photos that we've been going through, they blend in very, very well with the environment, with the landscape. So that's why these camps were chosen, and they were chosen for a reason. And it's quite very difficult to really explain why until you come and visit or you see the whole place, and then you will have a proper understanding why we chose all these places and why Natural Habitat chose these camps that we travel to. Okay, so as you can see, those are very, very beautiful luxury camps that we've got. That's an interior, they are nicely designed, and yeah, just beautiful. So once you go in there, we make sure that you guys get these comfortable, beautiful rooms throughout the trip. Okay, so these camps, there is quite a lot that happens around the camp. So most of these camps we offer, or we have these wild campfires where, like late in the evenings, you can sit around the fire, depending also on the weather as well. But then you can sit around the fire, you can chat around there, look at the stars, talk about African stories, or just to learn more about the authentic groups and the culture that we've got there. And also, we do very beautiful sundowners in around the camp. We've got some gin and tonics just to get you relaxed, from all the long traveling, and also to give you the beauty that Namibia can offer, or Africa can offer. All right. And then we also have beautiful dinners. It depends also whether inside, outside, or depending on this beautiful weather. Okay, so here we're going to talk about meals. All right. Throughout this trip, we're gonna have a lot of food. Um, there's always food throughout these trips. So we're talking about morning. When you wake up, you've got breakfast. You've got breakfast. When you go out on activity, you've got again some coffee and tea. And then you get back in the afternoon. You've got these beautiful lunches, and then before activity, like the late afternoon activities, there's again food, snacks. We call them high teas. And then you've got again snacks on sundowners. Yeah, so on sundowners, you've got these snacks. And once you back from sundowners, and then you've got again dinner. So there will be quite a lot of food, and we'll make sure that there is enough food for everyone. We never starve our guests. So whenever we get in the camp, there's maybe a specific food, or yeah, specific food or dish that might not be on the menu or so on, and that you really want. Please let us know, and we can make a plan. We are very, very flexible. So you're welcome to talk to any of us expedition leaders, and then we'll make sure that you guys get enough of that specific dish or so on that you might love. All right. So there is a lot of food, and we also never waste food. If there is a lot of food on the table, just let us know, and then we can always minimize it so we don't waste food at all. Okay. All right. So we mentioned about all these different camps that we're gonna be visiting. We're gonna be visiting all these different camps. So there will be a lot of activities that we'll be doing, whereby we will let you know about the activity times when we get in the camps, because activities they change and the time also change. So we will make a plan on what type of activities do we do, um, and what time we normally start those activities. But we in general, we have morning activities, afternoon activities. Yeah, so we've got morning and afternoon activities. So in the morning, we normally wake up our guests. Um, we we will, if there is anyone that, or we will actually give you a wake up call when when we're going to wake you up in the morning. So we'll come and knock at your door. We will wake you up, and then we will go and have breakfast. So some activities start quite very early. We are talking about anything like 5:30, 6 o'clock. Yeah. So once we wake you up, we'll go and have breakfast, early breakfast, and then we go out for activities as early as possible. Reason why we do early activities is also due to the weather as well, because we are in a dry country. It's a very hot country, so our temperatures change quite quickly in the morning. Yeah, and then depending on the type of activities we do, we go out there. We do the activities, whether it's now nature walks, um, game drives, and so on. And then once the temperature changes, we back in camp roughly around 11 o'clock, 11:30, and then you have an easy or short time where you relax, and then we have lunch, which normally starts around, some camps start like 12 o'clock, some 12:30. And then, yeah, once you're done with lunch, you go for an afternoon nap, which is a siesta. And then later in the afternoon again, we come back to the main areas where around 3 o'clock, 3:30 there, we have high tea. And then maybe around 4 o'clock or 4:30, we go out again for afternoon drives. So whereby we do have sundowners out there, or we have nature walks, or just afternoon drive. Okay, so these traps that we actually have around here, it doesn't really matter where we go. We want to make sure that you guys enjoy most of the activities that we offer. So that is now from visiting the beautiful dunes, going to track rhinos in the desert, like in Kulalas or in the south, we do the hot air balloon. So you can always do those kind of activities when we get in these beautiful camps. Okay. And then, as I mentioned, we also do nature walks in the beautiful places like Sosa's Play area, Desert Rhino Camp, One Ape Skeleton Coast Camp. So, yeah, so we do all those beautiful activities. As you can see, the landscapes are just breathtaking. Landscapes are breathtaking, and yeah. So once we go out there, you will see that the landscape will be changing quite a lot. Some places will look very, very dry, but there is a lot of wildlife in most of these areas. We actually got rain, or we haven't had rain like for about 8 years, but this year we got some good rains throughout the country. So we might be seeing quite a lot of animals throughout these traps. But as we mentioned, or as I mentioned, in some of the places we have specific attractions. So, like in Sossus Play, we've got the dunes, the Namib Sea. You've got the dead flay, or the dead trees that you will be seeing that are over 1,000 years old. And then in Damaraland area, which is now Desert Rhino Camp area, we will be tracking the desert adapted black rhinos, which are the free roaming rhinos that will be trekking in those areas. Yeah, so in those areas, we'll be trekking for that. Skeleton Coast, when we do the photo expedition trips, that's also what we'll be doing. It's a landscape, the the elephants that we're gonna be looking for, the coastal excursions that we drive to, and then in Etosha, when we get to Ongava, we end up seeing quite a lot of wildlife in those areas. All right, so as you can see, there's quite a lot of congregation of a lot of animals there. So we talk about giraffes, oryx, zebras, elephants, springboks, but there's apart from that, there's quite a lot. You know, you never know what you might see throughout these trips. In the south, we also do have animals, but you know we have different expectations when we get in those areas. So when we get in that area, we normally focus like on the landscape and the dead trees and so on. Let the animals be a bonus. The same applies to Desert Rhino Camp area. We go there for the black rhinos, but then the other animals is like a bonus for us again. And then when we go in Etosha, we end up having a lot of animals, whereby the scenery in that area totally changes. Okay, right. So now we're gonna be talking about the packing list, what to bring along on these trips. So you will be traveling to Namibia, and depending also on the trip, so sometimes you travel to Namibia and then you go to Botswana. So you might be wondering what type of things should you pack and how much should you bring along throughout the trip. Let's start off with the bags. So here, as you can see, we've got this beautiful list that I made up here. We actually start off with the bags, your traveling bags. We start off with that one. So we always advise our guests, please to bring or to carry duffel bags. Reason for that, why we carry duffel bags is because of the type of transportation we're using. It's like the aeroplanes that we use, we use the light aircraft, so we need softer bags that we can put in the compartment and so on. We ask our guests not to bring any side, any bags that are hard on the side and also not having any wheels. So we ask our guests to bring duffel bags with that. In that way, they will be much easier. So we talked about the bags being weighed when you guys arrive at the international airport. So when you guys arrive, your luggages will be weighed at the airport. And if they are overweight, there will be a few things that will need to be left behind. And then you will find them the last day you fly out from Windhoek again. You will find them at the airport. So they will be well taken care there at the airport. So just to not have that, we recommend all our guests to just have enough luggage, whereby weight limit is 44 pounds per person, including a carry-on. So 44 pounds per person, including carry-ons, and then 61 pounds per person on photo departures. Okay, so that includes per person per carry with the carry-ons. Okay, so through the packing list, we normally ask our guests to bring backpacks. Reason for backpacks, you can always pack in small things which you can take along on the activities. On the game drives, and then at least you have your backpack with you, and where you can put in small things. Either your sweater, your hats, binoculars, hat, sunscreen, and so on. All right. And also not to forget about the camera bags. Um, Warm clothes. Why do we say please bring along warm clothes? We are actually now in our winter season now, which normally starts end of April till around August. But we've been having quite a lot of unpredictable weather in Namibia. So reason we always encourage our guests to bring some warm clothes is when you go out on activity and so on, we want to make sure that you guys are warm, and then you can always take off the warm clothes and put them in the backpack. So at least a few warm clothes, and also trousers, shorts, maybe two shorts, that would also do because it does get very, very hot. So if you have those trousers that unzip, they would be perfect for this trip. All right. And another thing about clothing as well, we ask please bring hats. Hats are gonna be very, very important throughout this trip. Hats and beanies. Why do we say hats and beanies? In the day, as soon as the sun comes up, around 8 to 12, it does get very hot. So you want to have your hat with you there. Um, Ahead, and then in the morning it does get very, very cold or chilly, so we always ask if you have a beanie, that would be super. Also gloves, and also depending in the places we go, the weather changes quite a lot, so sometimes it might be very cold. I mean, you might leave the camp, it's a bit warm, but once you go out there on the safari, it does get cold. So please do bring some warm clothes. We do provide ponchos on the vehicle, and some closed vehicles that they are very warm inside. But yeah, once you do that, that would be perfect. Sunglasses, very, very important. We ask our guests to please also bring sunglasses because of the sun. Water bottles. As you can see, I've got my NetHub water bottle with me here. I always carry my NetHub water bottle. If I deplete my water, we always carry extra water in the vehicles, which we will refuel. I mean, refill the water bottles. So please make sure you drink as much water as possible, because we do have a dry heat. We do have a dry air here. So most of the places, the air is very dry. So that's whereby we need to drink a lot of water and also have sunscreen to apply on the body so we don't burn from the sun. Hiking shoes, very, very important, because around the camps, I mean, throughout the trips, there are some places where we'll be walking. Some terrains are very, very good. Some places, there might be some rocks, especially like rhino trekking and so on. So good hiking shoes will be perfect for the trips and so on. But then if you have some sandals, they would be very good around the camp. Okay. Walking sticks, if you do need any assistance, like walking and so on, if you do have some walking sticks, you're welcome to bring them along, because there will be some walks or hikes that we'll be doing in Sosas Play, Desert Rhino Camp area, and sometimes in the Skeleton Coast, where we'll be walking flat surface or somewhere in rocky areas towards the mountains. Binoculars, very, very important as well. Sometimes we do have animals that are quite far from the road. So we do have animals that are quite far from the road, or we want to identify a specific bird flying around and it's quite in a distance. So we would need to use binoculars, because in some of these areas we don't off-road at all. So, it's all about conservation. We don't, in most of the areas, we don't off road, so we don't destroy the habitat of the small creatures out there. And then uh, for the trips, it's very, very important. Whether you're just coming for a trip, even if you are not a photographer, um, phones are very, very good cameras. We use also phones to take photos throughout these trips, and throughout the activities that we will be doing. But if you're gonna be doing the Wild Namibia photo expedition or you are keen on photography, we always recommend you guys to bring your cameras. If you have new cameras that you want to come in also test out and so on, you're welcome to bring all those cameras. As I mentioned, I also love photography. I'm keen to always give a hand here and there and also show you some tricks about photography. And apart from that, my colleagues will also do the same as well. So please do bring cameras and so on. You might be wondering what type of lenses, especially if you have cameras, what type of lenses you should bring along. Depending on the sceneries that we're going to see and all that. Mostly we recommend for landscape, please bring a wide angle, anything between a 16 to 35 or 18 to 35 millimeter for landscape, or if there's a new lens you want to test out, which is for landscape, you're welcome to bring that one along. And then for the telephoto, which is now the zoom lens, we recommend you to bring anything like a 70 millimeter lens to 200 or 100 to 400, or if you have a bigger one, please do bring that along as well. So also we do also night photography as well, like for the stars and all that. So we recommend you guys to please bring along fish eye, wide angles. That would also do for night photography, as we sometimes go out of the camp or around the camp and we take photos of the stars. Least and not lastly, is the medication. That is the most important thing for the trip. I always ask my guests not to forget the medication. If there is medication that you take, please make sure that you bring enough medication as we go into remote camps. Most of all our camps are very, very remote, so we don't have a doctor in the area. But if one does get sick or you're not feeling okay and so on, you're welcome to let us know, and then we will always make a plan whereby we will call the company doctors. We always have doctors on standby. They can communicate with you and so on, or we can communicate with the doctor through the phone. And then if we need to get any medication to be sent through the camp, we organize in Windhoek, and then the medication will be sent in by the next flight coming into camp. So we don't have flights going in and out every hour. So you will only get the medication the following day if there is any medication prescribed by the doctor. So I'm asking my guests to please always bring medication along when you're coming on this trip. Okay, I think we actually getting there. As you can see, most of the places that we travel, we do most of the time we will need to wear our hats, binoculars to enjoy the beautiful Namibia landscape throughout uh, the trip, and also wearing warm clothes, which you can later take off and put in the bag, just to blend in with the weather. Okay. Um, so I think I said quite enough for these know before you go. But if there's any questions, you're welcome to ask me. And Rob.
All right, Abner, thank you so much. Now, before we start in with the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that you can submit your questions via the question field in your control panel. So all you have to do is go to the upper right corner of the control panel and you'll see those three lines up there. They call that the hamburger. So go ahead and click on the hamburger, and that will open up a menu and you'll see questions. Click on questions and go ahead and type your questions in there, and then I will ask them to Abner. So, Abner, tell me something.
Yeah.
How long is the trip? How many days does it run?
Right. So we've got a few different trips, especially the Great Namibia Wildlife Safari. We do 3 nights a few in Lel Kulala. Yeah, 3 nights in Lel Kulala, and then we do 2 nights in Desert Rhino Camp, and then 3 nights in Ongava, which is in Ongava Tended Camp. So we have different type of trips, and then we've got the Epic Botswana Namibia, whereby we do um, 2 nights in Lel Kulala, and then 3 nights in Juan Skeleton Coast Camp. And yeah,
Gotcha. Great. Thank you. Um, so, and how many people are going to be on the trip with me? Is there a maximum number?
uh, the other trips, like the Great Namibia Wildlife Safaris, the EPIC, we normally have 7 guests on those trips, and then depending, yeah, so 7, and then on the photo trips we have 8 guests.
Gotcha. And is the photo trip longer than the regular trip?
Yes, so the photo trips are longer because we do 3 nights in each camp. So which is now the Lel Kulala, we do 3 nights there, and then 3 nights in One Skeleton Coast Camp, and then we go to Ongava where we do 3 nights. Yeah, 3 nights in those camps. So reason for that is to focus on photography. So you want when you do photo trips, you want enough time in camp so you can capture as much as possible in those camps. So 3 nights is the ideal nights for all these. I mean, for the trip that we're doing.
Gotcha. Thank you. So let's talk about the camps for a minute. Are we going to have internet access when we are at the camps?
Yes. So all our camps have Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi in all the rooms. So we will have internet connection in all the camps that we'll be going into. Yeah.
What about bathrooms at the camps? Are we going to have our own private bathrooms in our area, or is it a group bathroom?
Yeah, bathrooms in all the what is it? All the camps. In each room, you will be having a bathroom, and then each room has a bathroom, indoor shower, outdoor shower. That depends on the camps that we go. For example, in Lelokulala, you've got the indoor shower, outdoor shower. You've got bathrooms there, and then on activities when we go out on activities, there are some places where we have bathrooms where we are able to stop and say, okay, here we've got bathroom. Apart from that, if we go out on the safaris, there are some places where we don't have any bathroom facilities. So what we normally do, we go behind the bush, as we say in the guide language, we're going to mark our territories. So the guide will go out first, go behind the bush, make sure the bush is safe, and so on. And then we'll give you, yeah, like a bag, and then you can always go behind the bush and so on, mark territories, and then yeah, you just bring the bag along, and then we dispose it in camp.
Perfect. Thank you for addressing that. And what about laundry? I know we have a weight limit for our clothes. Are we going to be able to clean our clothes while we are there?
Not at all. So all laundries are included in all our camps. So what you do when you arrive in the camps, you will be briefed in the camp. You will do check-in, sign the indemnity form, and then the managers will let you know about the laundry service in the camp. So when you get in the rooms there will be a laundry basket. So if you have some laundry that needs to be done, you put in the laundry basket. There will be a small booklet on the laundry basket which you can just fill in. Don't mind about the price and so on, because everything is included. So no worries about that. And then the ladies, when they come and do the turn down in the rooms, they will um, take your laundry, wash it, and then they will be brought back when they come and do again a turn down. So that it depends on what time you give your laundry. So if you give it in the morning, in the late afternoon, or when you come back from the afternoon drive, you will have some clean clothes because they will bring them back that time. And if you put them in the afternoon, and then you will get your laundry in the morning. So all the laundry is included and everything is done in camp.
Great. Thank you so much. So at the camps themselves, are there going to be common areas that we can hang out in? Are there any sort of maybe libraries that have field guides to birds, or should be that information that we can get through a guide? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So all our camps where we're gonna be going, there is a mini library. So there are books in the main area or the lounges, and yeah, in those libraries there are books about reptiles or birds, and there's some information about the general place. So in those main areas is where we sit, like before we start an activities, we always sit around those main areas. For those that would like to go through some information or read some books, welcome to do that. And then yeah, we talk about the environment or the area, the birds, geology, stars, or even also we do photography lessons, where we just go in there, we check our equipment before we go out on activities. So yes, all our camps do have a mini library there, and then we always go through those books. Going out on trips as well, I always carry at least a few books, mostly like geology and bird books and some mammals. And if we have to identify some animals that or insects that we've seen out there, the library is actually the place to come and see it and then identify all of our findings.
Great, thank you. So let's just address this now. Let's talk about dust and sand. Is blowing dust and sand an issue, and how can I prep for that with both my equipment and my face as well?
Yes, very. Thank you for that question. That's the most important one. Yes, as I mentioned, we've got different weathers throughout the trip. Some places we do get sandstorms, some places just wind, but no dust and all that. For example, if we have to go in the south, which is now in Kulala area or the Skeleton Coast, those two places, we do sometimes get sandstorms, and we go out on activities in those areas. On those activities. So we always ask our guests to bring along buffs if you have a buff, or when we are in the camps, we in your rooms or some rooms, we have towels. Or if you don't have, you just let us know. We will bring a towel along, and then we can use to cover our equipments. To cover our equipments. So when we go out on activities, some places we do get sandstorm, whereby the dust is very, very fine. Some we're talking about talcum powders and so on. So I encourage our guests never to change lenses. Never change lenses when we go out in these dusty areas. Rather change them in camp, and then when we go out on the drive, cover your cameras with a towel. If there's some dust or wind, cover your cameras with either a towel, or we can use a poncho and so on. And then when we are out there, we ask our guests never to put camera equipment on the in the vehicle, like on the ground, because of the vibration of the vehicle that might disturb the camera sensors and all those. So either you put them on the lap. If we do like the photo trips, we normally have a maximum of 4 guests in the vehicle. So there's enough place. I mean, there's enough place in the vehicle where you can always put your camera in those seats.
Perfect. Thank you for that advice. So, physically speaking, how much walking are we going to do on this trip? And do I need to be in really good shape, or or can I just be in average shape?
Um, okay, the dunes, talking about the Namib dunes, to be honest, now our dunes have been growing. They've been growing and becoming higher and higher, but they shouldn't really stop you to get to some of these, let's say the death play, or you want to hike up a dune and so on. What we normally recommend, if you're not fit enough to walk up higher dunes, you let us know and we can see what type of walking we can do for you around those areas. But for those that want to hike up some of the dunes, especially like Big Daddy, then you need to be fit enough for Big Daddy, since it's a high dune. We're talking about more than 352 meters. It might have increased now because it's rapidly getting higher and higher. But like for dead play, we're talking about walking in soft sand. So every time you walk a step, a step forward, they say you walk 2 steps back. So that will require you to have a lot of energy for walking in the dunes. But as I say, we all came here for holiday. We want to see all these beautiful dead trees and so on, or rhino trekking. So when we go out there, let's not force ourselves, say, okay, I need to do this. You need to walk, like to overwalk and so on. Take your time. We are there. We're gonna make sure that you guys gonna reach there. If you are tired, let us know. We will take good care of you, and then we will always make a plan. Okay, and then for rhino trekking, which is now in Desert Rhino Camp area, that's where we mentioned also hiking shoes. If you also have walking sticks, yes, those will be very, very helpful in those areas, because we'll be walking in these rocky areas. There will be a lot of basalt rocks in these areas, so there will be some loose rocks and so on. When we walk there, we just look where we're gonna walk, and walking sticks will be a very big advantage. So yeah, it will be a very big advantage. So what happens with most of these places, we drive from the camp to that specific spot, and then we get out of the vehicle where we walk maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get to these specific areas. For the ones hiking up, or when we're gonna hike up, it might take like about 40 to an hour climbing up these big, beautiful dunes. So that will require quite a lot of energy, and then like going to that play, it will be in between. They were same with the rhino trekking. Rhino trekking normally have the guys going out first, which is now the Save the Rhino Trust, which is the rhino trekkers. They go out first, they trek the rhino, and then once they find the rhino, they let us know. We drive in the area, we stop the vehicle, and then we walk for a few kilometers. So depending also on the physical, um, how do I put it, like the how fit you are. If there are those that can't make it, like walk a very long distance, we like for the rhinos, we look at the area where we're going to drive, and then we try and get a bit closer to that, and then we get out of the vehicle, and then we walk towards a rhino. So there will be some areas where walking will be a bit difficult, and some areas walking will be easy. So But as I mentioned, we are there to make sure that you get to those places, and we will be there at your assistance at all times. Skeleton codes, depending also in the areas where we will be operating, doing our activities, we might walk around. If it is clear, we might do flat surface or climb up mountains, when we go out for nature walks, and also depending on the wildlife that we have in the area.
So, given the harsh environment and the lack of rain, are there a lot of endemic plants, and where does the food and water come from that people and animals live on there?
Right. Most of the areas that we'll be going to, this is the desert. This is the desert where we are going to be going. So most of the animals get their water source from the food they eat. Remember, as I mentioned, it's a desert, so we don't really get much rain. But this year, it was a miracle that we ended up getting rain in most of these areas. So when you come to Namibia, you will see that the desert has a lot of grass and so on. But apart from that, the animals get their food mostly from they get the water from the food they eat. But how do the plants get the water? It's either by rain, but in many, many years, we never had any rainfall in the desert. So we get or the plants get their water from the fog that comes from the Atlantic Ocean, which rolls which roll inland about 100 to 150 kilometers inland. So it all condenses on the leaf, and the plants end up absorbing all this water through the leaves and stems. So we've got endemic plants like the Welwitschia mirabilis, which is Namibia's oldest plant, which is near endemic because 5% is in Angola. This plant it's one of the ancient plants that you will get, which has been carbon dated, and it's about 1,500 to 2,000 years old. So this plant only survives mostly from their fog, so whereby it condenses on the leaves and it rolls in there, and then it stores the water in the stems. So most of the plants in the desert, they are either having big stems where they store water in the stems, or they have succulent leaves where they store the water in the leaves. And that's how most of these animals end up getting the water. For example, oryx can go up to a month without drinking water, but will get water source from the plants they eat. All right. And then when you have animals like the elephants can smell water. They can go like 2 days, 3 days without water, but they can smell water. And in areas where we've got natural springs, they go to those natural springs. And the same applies to the desert rhinos as well. So animals in the desert adapted to live in this harsh condition and really don't rely on much. They don't really rely on having a lot of water in the desert because they know from where they will get the water source from.
Great. Thank you for that answer, Abner. We appreciate that. So let me ask you this, Abner. Is there one thing on this trip that is a can't miss site that you are excited for us to come out and see?
There's quite, Namibia is a very, very beautiful country. Sometimes I think I end up being more excited when I start a trip because, we have these beautiful landscape and animals and so on. But once you go out there, nature always surprise you with a lot of things. You end up being surprised by a lot of things. As I mentioned, you've got these sources flay, you end up having these dunes, and it's all about the dunes, the dead trees. But sometimes you end up seeing animals that come, that surprise you. Sometimes you might see like bed-eared foxes, depending on the rain and the what is it? The rain and the food that is available. Sometimes you end up seeing red-eared foxes or aardwolves at night. Sometimes you get to see hyenas, which you normally don't see in those areas. So I get very, very excited, and you never know what you might see. And in desert rhino camp, the same as well. Sometimes you get desert elephants. You were expecting, I mean, you go out there to see the rhinos, and you are out there on a drive, and you're like, whoa, there's a beautiful, I mean, there's a track here. Seems to me there's been a desert lion in this area. So you end up getting excited. You start trekking, and then elephants, and you go in this one skeleton coast camp. And yeah, so you just end up being very, very excited. But the most important thing, I get very excited when I see my guests coming to Namibia because I just love showing our guests, our beautiful country and make sure they enjoy the same way I enjoy Namibia. And I want to always make sure that they take back a lot of good memories about Namibia, about landscape, wildlife, the culture, the people, and also the expedition leaders. So if you see the guide being very excited, then it's super. It's super. Yes.
Abner, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Unfortunately, that will be the last question that we do have time for today. So I'd like to
Okay.
hand it back to you for any closing comments you may have for us today.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you very much for joining our webinar. I mean, so before your trip starts, 60 days before you depart home, you will get actually a pre-departure briefing. A pre-departure briefing, and in there is a lot of information to know what to pack along and what to bring along and so on. And if you're not sure, you're always welcome to contact NetApp, and they will assist you with most of the information that you need for this trip. And apart from that, I'm very, very excited to see you guys coming to Namibia, and we are ready to show you and just make sure that you guys enjoy our beautiful country. So please, 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 we are waiting for you with all our open hearts. And when you come, bring along a lot of love, happiness, and bring cameras as well, because when you go back home, you want to make sure you show your families and friends where you've been. And this is a magical place. Thank you.
No, Abner, thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today. And I'd also like to thank everyone who joined us. So if you are interested in information on how you could travel with NatHab to Namibia, or if you just have some questions, please give us a call at 800-543-8917, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us tomorrow for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.